I can guarantee you probably saw about 5 movies this year.
Deadpool and Wolverine. And I honestly can't remember anything else.
That's our point. Theaters and movies, man, are they dying? This is Show versus Business, where pop culture meets pop money. We host the real Theo Harvey and Mr. Benja. This is a new show. This is a show about what's been happening over the last 11 and a half months. What are we talking about today?
I thought I was going to say the 11 and a half month line, so you threw me off. But this is what happens when you get guys vibing for so long. What is this, episode 193, 194, 194? Yeah, man, we're kicking it. Listen, we've got a great show because we're not going to talk about anything that's been going on the past week like we usually do. We're going to talk about what we've been talking about for the past 50 weeks, almost a whole year, maybe 48 weeks. I don't know. We'll find out some number of weeks we're going to do. But listen, yeah, man, this year has been crazy this week. I'm always so used to saying this week. This year has been a little crazy, man, for a lot of people. And I don't know how crazy it's been, but how much information, how much thought we're putting into it, how much talking, how much speculation. It just seems like a lot's going on or is ready to pop off this year. And we're going to go back and look through some of our shows, some of our content. We're going to talk about AI and tech. Obviously, the presidential election came up. Big changes in social media or the lack thereof and how it's switching over streaming and big media. It's now becoming part of our lives and integrating us into it with everybody taking pictures, everybody doing the short form videos and contributing to this new culture. We've got a little game industry speculation that's changed a lot in 2024. I think this might go down as one of those years people look back to and said, yeah, 2024, that's when things started changing. I don't know. Is that kind of a read you get or what?
Yeah, absolutely, man. 2024 was big movements on a lot of different fronts, from technology to politics to even movies, man. People who once dominant, no longer dominant. People we thought were DOA are now resurgent, and new technologies are interwoven in all of this. And so I'm super excited to get to this podcast, Mr. Benja. So where do we want to start?
You know what? Let's start with the gurus, because I just heard Cat Williams, and this is the first time I've heard of anyone doing this, announcing a podcast return like almost a month in advance. Cat Williams announced that he is returning to the Shannon Sharp podcast. He's going to be on there talking again. So he mentioned in that podcast, in the original podcast that happened this year, in January, he started dropping bombs, pointing fingers, naming names, releasing the secret file, the top secret files, the confidential notes. He started putting people on blast. He just came out and started dropping bombs on people. And now that Shannon Sharp podcast is a classic. So he announces, hey, the stuff I held back on and didn't touch on completely, he's going in, and he's announced it. So now we've got a podcast that people are waiting a couple months to see and hear. That's fascinating right off the bat with the new podcast influencer game. That's amazing to me.
Yeah, man. As you mentioned that, I was looking at the original one that premiered, if you don't remember, way back in January 3rd of 2024. It has 84 million views. So yes, if everybody saw that one, and it was a damn near a 3-hour podcast. So for him, that's a flex, right? Like, hey, I'm the Negro Damas. I'm gonna show up and tell people what I'm predicting for 2025. I love it, man. Because what he mentioned in that podcast was very precedent. It was like saying, hey, the P. Diddy of this all, and this is the truths are coming out, which is very fascinating. He was entertaining to watch. And he predicted what's happening with podcast influencers and how that's changing things. And we will see that in the politics. Man, so many different levels that this probably has to be the story of the year. Anybody that says that this is not the story of the year is lying, because it has to be on so many different levels, in my opinion.
It touches, it's weird because, yeah, you're right. It touches on so many things. We're talking about a comedian on a sports, the guy who came from sports host, Shannon Sharp, has this comedian on, and they talk for 3 hours in this weird Hollywood media kind of topic, and everybody just starts eating it up. No filter, no, like, this is brought to you by Tostitos or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it's very weird how the year started off like that and it just blew up. And it goes to show you how two people, a camera and a mic, can really blow something up and take something to new places. And people, the big media, which we'll talk about a little later, is still trying to catch up and figure out what's going on. And this is just one aspect of it. These are, I'll call them podcast gurus. So you might be right that it might just be emblematic of, hey, this is the new thing.
Mm-hmm. It's that, remember Venn diagrams, right? It's 4 different Venn diagrams. You're right. I forgot there's sports aspects of it, which Shannon Sharp, ex-football player who's now a podcast extraordinaire guy, came out of nowhere. Breaking news. You got a comedian. So you're in the comedy world. You got predictions. You got using podcasts to drive influence. You got something that was a long form kind of podcast. It wasn't short. It was long. So yeah, man, we had to begin the story with year review with that. Absolutely. So anyone that doesn't, they're lying to you guys. That was probably the most influential moment of the year, in my opinion. So what else? What do we got next, man? The gurus, man.
Okay, I'll jump from him and go to a new type of, not new, but they've taken it a level higher with Kai Cenat. And he's basically a Twitch streamer. So streamer now and guru, we're fudging the terms here, but people who are getting online and really driving society. Kai Cenat, Twitch streamer, he's getting hundreds of thousands of people viewing his streams every month, getting paid off of that. People are going to him like he's an old school talk show host where they're like, hey, I just want to be on the stream. I just need to show up and I'll be in your office and everything, not your office, his basement, playing games, talking. It's very conversational, yet highly produced. So it's this weird dichotomy of, hey, let's be friendly. You don't have 32 cameras around your house and you don't have a team of people with computers and servers and camera switches. You simply can't do that. Nevertheless, it feels like you're hanging out with one of your friends. So this weird type of connection with the audience that we've never seen on this level before. It's wild. So how many more people can we get like Kai Cenat? So he's the first, right? The first of this level. And Mr. Beast, that's a show. That these are shows that he does. But Kai Cenat's more of a friend and influencer. And I see more people going in that direction. So can you do that for politics? Can you do that for
business?
Books and business? Yeah. Can you have some guy sitting around a Wall Street? He lives a couple blocks down from Wall Street in his apartment or whatever. And he's like having people come over. Hey, we got this banker from Chase. He's talking to us. Yeah, man, blah, 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 blah. And it's just like friends talking and showing up. And how many different ways can you flip the Kai Cenat formula? I think we'll just call it that, the Kai Cenat formula now, because it's too big to ignore.
That's a good point. We talked about Mr. Beast this year, about his business dealings. He tried to create a show on Amazon to emulate the success he has on his shows on YouTube with mixed results. Obviously, he's big, a little bit, controversial. Yeah. Don't know what's going to happen there. He tried to get into the business world with his Feastables and his licensing deals with Taco Bell and what's the other one? Not Taco Bell. What was it?
No, I actually almost messed up. I was about to say the Prime drink, but that's the Lunchly thing that he collaborated with.
Yeah. Well, he did some licensing things with, Zaxby's. I don't know if you saw that. Did some stuff with them. So yeah, like I said, he's just trying to expand the brand. But to your point, Kai Cenat is really in that realm of, like you said, it's heavily produced, but it does look, hey, I'm just doing this in my attic in my house. And so, I'm your friend. I'm your buddy. Just like Jordan Howlett. He's the Instagram kind of food reviewer. He gives you all the recipes for all these famous, and that's funny. He blew up because of that. And then now he's got Method Man showing up. He's got Kevin Hart showing up, right? Just cracking jokes. And then of course, Keith Lee, one of the big time food influencers, right? He'll show up at your restaurant and you get like 1,000 people around the block, right? Trying to get to your restaurant. my wife told me about we're eating sushi, right? And I'm trying to enjoy sushi. Oh, this is good. A mid bite in between my spicy tuna. My wife says, "Oh yeah, do you see that latest Keith Lee video?" I'm like, "No." So yeah, he was at a sushi spot and he saw a worm wiggling around in his sushi. I said, "What?" It's like, yes, he's got that much influence. I think that restaurant shut down because of that. So yes, these influencers, and we're not even going to talk about what happened during the presidential election. Maybe we'll talk about a little bit, but yeah, the Theo Vons, the Joe Rogans, Theo Von, these bro podcasters, and then he went on Patrick. What was it David? I always say his name
Patrick
wrong.
Bet David.
There you, Patrick Bet David's podcast, right? Big business influencer.
If you want to remember his name, think about him as the peanut butter dude.
The VBD. I love it. You're right. PBD. Trump went on Grant Cardone's podcast, right? 10X conference. So there you go.
Uh-huh.
So those are the business gurus. And then the big business guru that blew up really even more so than he did in previous years, Hormozy, right? He's at about 2 million followers at this point.
Oh my God. I'm sitting here thinking about it now. We talked about it informally, but I'm sitting here thinking about it. A political Kai Cenat would be so easy to do. They're used to fronting and frankly lying and presenting a show for people. Instead of Kamala Harris coming out of a record store like, "Oh, you surprised me. Look at what new vinyl I bought." I'm like, "Oh, Kamala, please."
Oh my goodness. Oh my.
We love you, but that was funny. I'm sorry. So think about just hanging out with a politician and being like, "Hey, we brought over some burgers from this guy's place, and oh yeah, that's what they always talk about. Somebody I can sit down and have a beer with." Go on think about somebody coming on a Kai Cenat type of show and just hanging out, just talking, and it almost seems kind of Mr. Rogers-esque now, where it's, "Hi neighbor," get a Mr. Rogers and make a streaming Twitch show out of that guy. And
it's blown my mind, Mr. Benja, man. It's like the YouTube and just streaming and having a Twitch following. That's all about know and trust. And so we talked about the more time people spend with you, the more they like you, the more they trust you. And I absolutely believe we'll have influencer president in the next 5 to 10, by next 10 years. Just like Donald Trump was the first reality star president, right? TV star president.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't we have a streamer or a YouTuber become president?
Yeah. And so for people who are just saying, yeah, they've already done this, it's not the same until you've really gotten into it. Do you know the game Werewolf, where you sit around and everybody tries to figure out who's the werewolf? And
I'm not the werewolf. I'm not the werewolf.
The similar thing to or Mafia. You try to figure out who's a civilian and who's a mafia agent, whatever. So Kai Cenat had this, at least he does it in blocks, of course, of time. He had this 8-hour stream where all he did was sat around and played Mafia with his friends. So it's like somebody comes in the room. It's, "Oh, he's here. Da-da-da. Okay, let's start up a new game. And then he turns around. Hey, chat. Should we put him on this team or this team?" And the chat starts chiming in and everything. Can you imagine 6 hours of a politician just walking around there talking and playing games and doing things? And it's just really bizarre until you've sat down for one of these Twitch streams, interacted, sent in your comments, and you're arguing with people in the chat. It's just bizarre. So we'll do a prediction show, maybe separately, a complete prediction show. But
I wrote down, I got a prediction too, man. You're right. I think that the streamers, and I'm learning this from you because I'm not on Twitch as much as you, but I definitely see there is validity in creating community with live events. And so we're going to see more of that probably for 2025. But yes, anyway, that's a preview.
Yeah. And Emily CC, the girl who's been streaming for 3 years straight, is going to be part of that preview show.
Yeah. We talk about gurus and internet influencers, but I do not want to leave this section without saying that I think this is the demise in celebrity, traditional celebrity, right? And in the forefront of that prediction or that year in review was P. Diddy, right? This high, level celebrity that you and I grew up on, right? Traditional celebrity, right? Went through the rocks, business mogul, had reality shows, did this. Come to find out, he was out here wilding out doing trafficking with younger minors and stuff, allegedly. And so he's in jail now for trial. But the rumor is that there have been a lot of other celebrities mixed in with that. So the degradation of traditional celebrity, I think, is going down. And because of things like P. Diddy. And he's of a piece, right? When we look at, what's that guy that passed away? Shoot, he had an island. Dang, I'm drawing a blank right now. Epstein, yep. Is like rumors and smoke, and it's now they're starting to become real. And it's, do we trust these guys who have all this money and this influence? Are they on the up and up? I might as well go to the guy who's going to be on a Twitch stream for 8 hours. I know he ain't doing no X trafficking right there in the middle of a game of mafia. So I got to trust that. But yeah, I think we're seeing parallel the rise of these influencers and the degradation of traditional celebritydom, where the realness is not there anymore with celebrities.
Yeah, mark their calendar, because it started happening and switching over this year, where it started to even with Kanye West, no marketing, just out there being himself in his own weird little way of doing things. There's seven Instagram accounts that decide to report on him, and he does no marketing himself, really. He's just
that Super Bowl commercial was hilarious. It was on par. Have you ever seen that meme of the young black girl talking about, I got some lip gloss to sell you? That was it. It's popping. I don't know what to tell y'all. Go check it out.
Oh man. All right, we jumping into AI and tech.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so this year we had the biggest company overturned. It used to be Apple, and as far as stock price at least, used to be Apple. Now it's NVIDIA, all on the back of AI chips. And so if you thought they were just playing around, they're not playing around. A company that only makes chips is getting heavily funded by everybody and their mama, because everybody and their mama wants AI. And this is the year that AI did its thing, at least stood on stage and decided that it was going to be a factor.
Yeah, man. NVIDIA, who would have knew chips became so prevalent? I just remember NVIDIA because obviously, it's a gaming type of chip, right? Manufacturer.
Yeah.
With the tools so that was one of the first times I heard about them. But then I think they pivoted. First, it was in the Bitcoin area, right? Where they were people were leveraging like NVIDIA chips to create these farms to do a lot of Bitcoin mining. And so it was just like, Then he found another scandal. Could they be used for AI? And so it's amazing the pivot that can happen at that level, because as we all know, chips are notoriously expensive to make. But man, they've been the rising star, right, in this whole market right now. So it's going to be interesting to see. Rumors are obviously they're going to be tariffs that are going to be rising up that Trump is going to put out there. So we'll be interested to see how that's going to affect the markets, because now obviously are the other countries going to put tariffs on chips coming in, being exported out to them to be used for their AI tools? Or they're going to just try to put more money into their own manufacturing? So it's going to be interesting to see how this affect the business model for the future. But I get it, man. We have to stay competitive in this space, because if other countries get the AI tools, not saying that we're all saintly, it's going to be a wild west when countries are not putting any safety measures around AI. It's going to be crazy. But anyway, NVIDIA, yes. And you know what? I did not get any stock in NVIDIA. So that's probably why I'm bitter. I don't talk about NVIDIA too much on this pod, but yes, I'm bitter because I didn't get their stock when I should have.
Yeah. And I don't know if you look too much into I forgot what they call them, parallel industries, or like when one industry blows up and there's a certain thing that goes along with it. Nuclear power has been really a really big discussion lately, because people are looking for ways to get energy that can power all these chips. And they're like, you know what? Even if it's not AI, it's graphics, it's the VR headsets, it's all these things we're going to need chips for. And we're apparently betting the future on that. And NVIDIA is just one of these companies. But where's the energy coming from to produce all these AI models, do all this 3D rendering, do all this graphics processing, et cetera, et cetera? And there's been a lot of discussion about nuclear power. And the thing with nuclear power is only certain countries and not very many people have access to developing nuclear power. You got the US, Russia, China, Iran, Pakistan, India are coming along, but they're not on the same level. And it's interesting that they made this kind of small group of people who know how to use nuclear power. And the reason everybody doesn't use it is because, one, it's very difficult, but it also brings along the threat of nuclear danger that naturally comes along with it. So this is the year that everybody made the decision that, yeah, we're probably going to go in this direction and try to be safe.
Good point. Yeah, I saw some articles around that, like nuclear fusion is a reality now, right? They can start the process to start creating nuclear fusion. Traditionally, it was nuclear fission, where you combining the molecules together. But excuse me, you're splitting apart the molecules with fission. But that they think the nuclear waste for that was so toxic, right? That people got away from it. But nuclear fusion, from my understanding, it produces hydrogen, which is fine. It's not going to hurt the environment. But to your point, could you change chain reactions and start some mess? But yeah, the hunt for energy is real, man. We talk about this. Remember when Bitcoin was hot, right? And it's getting hot again. They were talking about, hey, are we going to create these data centers that's going to use all this energy? Some of these Bitcoin farms were using enough energy to light up a small country. So now we're talking about AI now, and these learning modules aren't cheap. So yes, not only you got to train these modules, and it takes a lot of human power to do that, but it takes a lot of energy. And so we're seeing this energy thing is becoming more and more important, whether it's Bitcoin or was AI. And so I could see what nuclear fusion, that's a good point. And yeah, these orthogonal kind of, or not orthogonal, but complementary goods. You're right. If you look at economics, complementary goods and supplemental goods, those are the ones when you see the demand curve, basically people want more of the product. The same demand curve follows the supplementary and the complementary goods. So nuclear energy could be another one. That's a good point. I'm looking at that, Mr. Benja. I was going to do some research. It's okay. I missed out on NVIDIA. So what other things can I buy that's going to go up? That's not as expensive. Yes. Thank you for that.
Yeah. If you want to know how serious it is, I'm looking at the MIT Technology Review. I wanted to check some facts, and this one slipped by me. Microsoft has made a deal a little earlier this year to reopen 3 Mile Island to help power some of their data centers. Man, 3 Mile Island was the scene of the worst commercial accident in nuclear history, or in U.S. nuclear history. So
don't underestimate capitalism, man. And then now that we have a new administration, a mitigated capitalism, man. So if you want to open 3 Mile Island up, get some nuclear waste on, ain't nobody gonna stop you. Get your money, man. Get your money.
That guy has 3 eyes. He'll be okay.
Speaking of politics, Mr. Benja, I mean, we don't cover politics on this spot, but I guess I had to this year.
We said that 5 episodes straight.
I know, but it's
crazy.
We had to, though, man. He did a pod about 2 Road Brothers, and that when some folks gave us some good comments on that one. Thank you guys for the love and the hate. We'll take it all. But yeah, man, Trump. My prediction last year was that Trump was done. And we'll go into some of the predictions we make too, guys, and where we were wrong. But I was absolutely wrong with Trump being done. I thought someone else would rise, and that the president election is a show and it needs a star. But guess what? Trump has remained a star. And he was the only one, when you look at the data, since 2016, he expanded the electorate, right? His electorate. So basically he went from majority white men to now he made major gains in the last election with Latino men, with young men who went for Trump this year, right? And some black men, right? Wow. I don't know what to say. So I do feel like Trump America is here now. And how is this going to fundamentally change entertainment, business, which we talk about all the time? I think it's going to be fundamentally, to your point, 2024 was definitely a pivotal year. And how he won too. We talked about the podcast, the emergence of these influencers and podcasters swaying people. He really did those podcasts in the last month. And I think that has some influence toward people swaying his way. Yeah, man. It's a new world we live in. So we just have to realize that, hey, how do you, especially in America, here in America, for those that don't live here, we have to evaluate what does that mean for the future when it comes to how things are going to happen. But yeah, man, a lot of lessons to be taken from this from a marketing standpoint. whether it's business from a business standpoint and in the show. I think Trump encapsulates it both, and that's why we talk about him so much on this pod.
Yeah, you know what? I just found out that Donald Trump he's only the second U.S. president to have 2 non-consecutive terms.
Mm-hmm.
I thought there were more than that, but apparently it was only, what's his name? Grover Cleveland?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Grover Cleveland, back in 1889.
Exactly. But that shows you the resilience that he had over 10 years on the political scene. Any one thing could have took him out for the count. And he thought January 6th would take him out. For those that don't know, huge situation happened. Yeah. That was happened here in the United States. And he thought that was the one that's going to take him out. But man they're not.
People thought grabbing by the meow was going to take him out.
Nope. Yep. I just... And that's when you realize that, you know what, like I've been telling people the last 2 weeks, when you see a tide come, or when you see the wave coming, you can either get taken under by the tide, or you can ride the tide like a surfboard. I'm gonna ride this surfboard.
Roll your pants up, dog.
Surfboard. I'm gonna ride that surfboard, man.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so follow us.
Yeah, and we're talking about media, the election, and all this. A lot of this is happening in a new communication landscape that we really started to. It's been happening, obviously, for the past decade with social media. But now I think we're entering a phase where the people are more, I don't want to say active, but they're bigger participants. They're stronger participants in the whole conversation. We've got a TikTokification where everybody's showing their short little videos. And Gary Vee said it a long time ago. It's like, hey, everybody's going to be their own little media company where you're going to have to put together your own little brand, your own persona, your own imagery. And even Warhol said that a while back in his own way. But this whole commodification of the people, and we become the media, and it's part of us and we're part of it. I don't know what to call it exactly. I don't know if we have a name up for it, but it's a lot of stuff happening. And 2024 was the year I was like, yeah, we've crossed a certain threshold. And I don't know what it is, but maybe that makes sense or maybe it doesn't.
No, it makes sense. When you think about what's happening, where everybody is trying to create their own kind of influencer market, right? That's just, I have a theory on this. I'll put it on my prediction list, but it's just, I think this social media has become more real than this physical world sometimes, man. We're seeing stories about teens being harmed mentally, emotionally by what people say online, or even what chatbots are telling them. And so it's crazy how this is changing and evolving over time. One of the things I saw was interesting. I still think one of my predictions was that people realize the need for the real world so they can grow social media. I think we're still seeing that people are creating like kind of live events to come visit us, in like a Alex Hormozy or 10X conference from Grant Cardone, or even my guy Myron Golden. He has some events, live events, because I think that realness, I think it gets back to that realness. You talked about that, right? Like, how do you create a real emotional connection with people?
It's interesting. I think the realness is in service to the fakeness. Like, I'm only
James, you gotta put that on that's a good one.
I'm only being real so I can make my virtual presence more of a thing. Like, why would I go have a conference? So I can get more followers and be even bigger in this virtual space. The virtual space, I think, is now the forefront. That's what you go for. And in order to bolster it, you have some real events. But having real events because you want to be real? Nah, that's dead.
That's a fair point. I think that there's some validity to that, because then the people who showed up at your real event, they're your mouthpiece, right? And say, oh yeah, I was there. It's live. He's legit. Boom. Now you just blew up even more on social. I see some validity in that. But do people want a real connection, right? And so if we can do a live event, and I think this is what's happening too, man. These niches on niches, right? Social media is creating these ponds of just, I listen to 5 podcasts, right? And so basically outside, my wife tried to get me to listen to those other podcasts. I just, they would say the same stuff we talk about. They were saying stuff that I've heard before, but I just couldn't take it from them. You know what I'm saying? It's because they weren't in my filter. And I think that's what's happening now. Is we're all saying the same things, but it's
Yeah.
just we all got our own little filters of who will accept this information.
Well,
Does
it's
that
funny.
make
Yeah, no, you have the bubbles or circles. It's like I listen to, let's say, some tech podcast, and the tech podcast mentions AI, and there's a guest on that. So I listen to that guy, and I'm like, okay. And all of a sudden, he shows up on Lex Friedman. I'm like, okay, who's this Lex Friedman guy? And if they're outside of the circle of connected people, it's just, who are you? I'm a vet. Yeah. Whose podcast have you appeared on? It's
Yes. So I think our prediction is we're gonna be more podcast guys for next year, but more on that. But yeah, it's just you just don't have the. I think also we just don't have the capacity to handle too many thoughts in our
yeah.
head at the
You
same
know,
time, and
I
so
mean, we like us or everybody.
everybody, human
Okay.
beings, just
Yeah.
we get overwhelmed. Even running business, I get overwhelmed. I'm like, man, because you got so many other things that you compartmentalize, right? You got your family, you got your friends, you got yourself, things that you want. Then you got your business, and then now you get ideas and thoughts. You like certain things. There may be some bias involved in that, right? And social media is, like you said, this concentric circle, and that's one of the reasons why, talking about the election again, that people were in bubbles. They didn't realize that there were more people going for Trump because they couldn't perceive it. It was like it wasn't even their reality.
Yeah.
And it's because we're all stuck in our own kind of realities now with these social media bubbles. But I say all to say is I think I thought there was a way to penetrate that, but I don't think there's no way to penetrate that anymore. I think we're just all going to get deeper and deeper involved in our bubbles. And people, like you said, are going to create these real experiences to create more fakeness on the YouTube and social
Yeah.
medias, right? Because that's
Mr.
just where,
Beast.
we're going to get into that. But man, speaking of Mr. Beast and the wars that he's putting out there and trying to make something happen. Man, we really went all in when we started this pod talking about the streaming wars. We don't really go into it as much because I think we talked about that Netflix one. But this year, man, was there anything that kind of blew your mind that across all these streamers, what they were doing and what was happening?
Between, let's see, I looked on Amazon. I wanted to see how many channels there were to buy, how many plus channels or whatever. You have the majors, obviously, Apple TV, Paramount, Peacock. You're like, okay, sure, I can get those channels. But man, there are 100 plus channels out there. All these streaming things to buy. Movie, MUBI, Stars. But it's all about the big media wars, man. Disney, Amazon, Netflix, Discovery/WB. And I think even Discovery/WB may fall off or become definitely mid-tier. But outside of the big three, I'm calling the big three Netflix, Disney, and Amazon. I don't know. Did you have others to put in there? But
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. Of the two of us, I think we started maybe on this pod talking a little bit more about some of the TV shows and movies. We got way little from that, but I still watch them, guys. I'll put a plug in there every now and then. So check out the early part where I go into my little reviews on certain TV shows and movies. But I think you're right, Mr. Benja. Netflix far and above, they're just dominating. This is maybe future, but they're going to announce an NFL game with Beyonce at halftime. Now, mind you, this is a Christmas game, regular season game. Nothing special about this, not even a playoff game, but they got the biggest pop star to show up at halftime for a regular season NFL game. Blows your mind for Christmas. So that's Netflix, what they're doing. So they're definitely dominating. Disney is resurgent. Obviously, they had movie wise, they had two of the biggest movies of the year, Inside Out, plus Deadpool, Wolverine. They're both showing up on Disney Plus now, and so that's helping the traffic. They had some great TV shows for MCU. And then Amazon, to your point, Amazon is probably leading the pack because they really are getting into this whole licensing thing where they have their own original stuff with the boys and these what they call like these kind of book versions of TV shows, right? All these
yeah.
books like Jack Reacher, Alex Cross that just came out.
Cross, yeah.
My wife. What's the other one? There's another book that they did. Oh, Jack Reacher. No, Jack Ryan. So these are all books, which Amazon was a bookseller created into TV shows, and they're just dominating that whole space and this off take on superheroes. But the other thing they have, right, and then my parents got in this rap where they have channels, to your point, that you could subscribe directly to the Amazon interface to Netflix shows, HBO shows, all this other stuff. My mom said, "Oh yeah, it was on Amazon. I just watched this show." Like, Mom, you're paying for it. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm just watching this show. It's on Amazon. You're absolutely paying for it. Went to her Prime account, and sure enough, she was paying $9.99 a month for Stars. She didn't even know it. So there you go.
It's actually hard to tell when it gets integrated in. You're just like, ooh, I'm having fun. Yes.
And I can break down each one of these, who was resurgent or not. Obviously, with M&A, mergers and acquisition, become more and more forefront. We're probably going to see a lot of consolidation.
Yeah.
HBO, we saw the shenanigans that David Zaslav was doing, basically licensing Batman, the Cape Crusader, which you and I both enjoyed, over to Amazon, right? Just for pennies, for some dollars on where it should be on their own platform. But no, we saw them create the Penguin, which was pretty well received. The domination, they're taking all this IP and creating prequel series like Hot D. Got Hot D and the House of the Dragon. And were you a big fan of the Dune franchise or movie series?
I liked it, but it's not. I definitely didn't, go crazy over it.
Yeah, it's not me. This says more sophisticated Star Wars, and I can see that. But yeah, because they get into religion and other stuff, but it's acquired taste. But yeah, they're trying to do prequels of that. So yeah, HBO Max and Discovery, they're trying to do some interesting things. Some of the interesting ones I thought I want to put on here, Paramount Plus, man, they just got bought out. Sherry Redstone sold the company to Ellison. You know who Ellison is, right? He's that big Oracle CEO worth billions of dollars. His son bought Paramount. So now they're going to take Paramount. It's a studio and a streamer, and it owns CBS, and it owns BET. Yeah, so they have a lot of pull, but their streaming series is they're blowing up. They got Taylor Sheridan. We don't talk about his TV shows as much. Yellowstone, but I've been watching Lioness, which is great. He has a new one called Landman, which is really good. So yeah, they're doing dominant, and then they have live football, which we all know that dominates TV. So that was what's happening there. And then Peacock, they're struggling along. Peacock is owned by NBC Universal, so they have all the NBC brands, which is okay. They have a good movie, fine, like Oppenheimer, but they also have, because they have NBC, a regular TV show. They have football, and they have a lot of reality. If you like Bravo stuff, that's what my wife likes, like the Real Housewives. That's been resurgent. And then Apple, people don't know what Apple's doing anymore. They just spend the money, just spend money. So make a long story short, the streamers are still there, but I think it's become harder and harder to find something that you can watch on a channel. And we're seeing Netflix, though, starting to get back their licensing contracts. We're seeing more of the shows coming to Netflix, right? We're seeing like shows from Showtime, which was licensed from Stars from Paramount. So we're seeing Netflix becoming that single source for all TV watching right now.
Yeah, and they're definitely dug their feet in to do the live sports and live events. We saw that with the Trump and Paul fight. Tyson Paul fight. I'm sorry.
That'd been awesome. I would love to see that.
Sorry, all the fake competition got in there and in my head. And man, and stuff like rigged competitions. That kind of stuff, that's definitely a mark of 2024, where it's more obvious that everything's a show. It's just, this is a show. I'm just putting on a show. You don't know me. I'm doing a show. So, I don't know. You want to move on to theaters? We talked about big media enough. That kind of leads into theaters and box office.
Yeah. But the movies you saw, Mr. Benja, let's a little bit. This is interesting. Why did you go see them, and what made you be compelled to see them? Because I can guarantee you probably saw about 5 movies this year. Of the two of us. Is that correct?
It's definitely a handful. Deadpool and Wolverine. And I honestly can't remember anything else.
That's our point. Theaters and movies, man, are they dying, man? It's just, look, I always cherish it, and I can name all the different, I think I saw maybe about 20 movies in theater, because that's just who I am. But yeah, man, I don't know if it's still there unless you can create an event out of the movies you go see.
Yeah.
And very few movies have that event style. You mentioned it. Deadpool, Wolverine was an event. If you have kids, Inside Out 2, right? sequel to a highly anticipated movie was an event. Outside of that, man, I'm trying to think, was there an event? Maybe there's an event coming. There's an event now as we're recording this. Wicked. My family, I went to go see that earlier. That's like a high musical anticipation. Probably gonna make $150 million this weekend that we record this. But I can't think of any movie this year that was an event that people said, I gotta go see. Maybe if you were like horror, Terrifier, 3? Yeah, which was terrible, but I don't know, Mr. Ben. I'm scratching my head as a person that loves movie. What was there an event movie this year on likes of Barbie and Oppenheimer?
I don't know. They're hyping Gladiator 2, but we'll see how that works out.
Oh yeah, I saw that. It's okay. We'll talk about it later, but it's okay.
So I'm looking at the numbers here for 2024 box office. Yeah. Inside Out 2, Deadpool and Wolverine, and then it's just a bunch of stuff. Despicable Me, Godzilla and Kong, Dune Part 2, Kung Fu Panda 4, Venom: The Last Dance. And I also didn't realize how sequel heavy this was until I'm reading the list here. Bad Boys: Ride or Die, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, A Quiet Place, Day One, Alien: Romulus, Joker, dude, you know.
Oh, Joker's on that list? Wow, that bombed.
I jumped down to 18 to pick that one up.
Okay. That bombed so bad. That was supposed to be the savior, and that just, I think that was the one you went to go see, right?
God,
you went to go see? Okay. Yes, man. That thing was so bad. Yeah, man. It was not a good year in theaters. And the only reason I brought that up to just highlight how you didn't feel compelled at all, as someone who is on a podcast with me on every week, didn't feel compelled at all to watch any of this stuff. And so that is, and I would say you're more educated about this stuff than most, right? For you not to be compelled to go see this, to want to talk about it, this is telling.
Yeah, I'm more watching the online stuff, watching the short form stuff. I'm actually sitting around wondering when Quibi gonna pop. Don't trip. It's still valid. And I have designs for it written down in my pad here. But
designs for it. Oh, you got machinations. But there was some surprises. Transformers 1 was a pleasant surprise. I saw it with my son. That was not too long ago. Dune Part 2 was decent. I thought the visuals are good. I just never get into Dune. That was earlier this year.
Transformers 1 didn't do well.
No, it didn't do well at all. I thought it was good, but it didn't do well. It's already on streaming, so you can go watch it for $5.99. But I'm trying to think, was anything recency biased? Wicked wasn't bad if you like musicals.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think, was there anything that just really popped this year? Usually I'm the guy that's listen to smaller movies. The Substance we talked about, that I thought was decent. Yeah, man. It's few far between, man. It's so sad this year. So sad. Oh my goodness. TV though. TV. I'm a TV watcher, and one of the things that we both watched this year, X-Men 97, man. That was surprisingly good. Who knew? Continuation of the old X-Men TV show we grew up on, but then more sophisticated. And I think we had Dr. Chris on the call, and then we went into that deep dive. I think everyone we talked to loved it, even though the showrunner is no longer with it, but hopefully it can keep that same high level. But yeah, any other high watermarks for you when it came to television watching this year?
Fallout.
Thank you. That was a good one. Yeah, I think you came in later than me, but I was pleasantly surprised. It's got that weird vibe to it, man. I liked it, man.
I didn't want to watch week to week. That was the thing. So I was like, screw that. I want to watch at my own pace.
Yeah. Did it give you that vibe? You played the game, right?
I played one of them. Not very much, though.
Yeah. When I was watching it, it gave me that vibe of playing late night, playing the video game. It's just, I'm on a mission. I'm in this weird environment. I don't know what's going to happen next. Yeah. So, that was a pleasant surprise for this year.
I think it was the first one of those games from a show from a game that still felt like a game and worked out in terms of being entertaining as a show.
Good point.
I think it really nailed that properly.
Yeah. And to your point, and kept that same kind of weirdness, right? That like retro futuristic look from the 50s combined with just weirdness. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, and the characters are pretty decent too. And cool. Yeah, good point, man. We both talked about Batman, Cape Crusader. We both enjoyed that series. I would say it was pretty decent. I would say it was like, when it comes to the classic Batman animated series, I think it was just below that. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to see it run a few more seasons to get into a groove, because shows like that where it's a serial, but then it's individual episodes that don't rely heavily on the previous episodes. And I think something like that needs just a little time to roll into it and get people back into the vibe.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to watch any of the Penguin or the HBO shows? Got Hot D, Game of Thrones, Hot House of the Dragon. Did you watch any of those this year?
No, I think I'm mad at HBO.
Ooh.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm mad at it. I go to the website and I'm about to click purchase or start my subscription. And I'm like, I don't like you. And I turn it off.
Nah, I would imagine that. Yeah, it's sad. They're trying to hang on that Sunday night. It's tough, man. It's like after Succession went away, it's okay. Obviously, the Last of Us was good, but that doesn't come out to next year. But this year they had the Game of Thrones House of the Dragon. Decent, has some good moments in it with the dragon fighting. But man, it's just so slow, man. It's just they were gearing up, or not spoiler alert, but they're gearing up for this big battle. And they're like, yeah, we're gonna battle, we're gonna battle, we're gonna battle. And then the last episode is just like a prequel of what the battle's about to start. And you're like, wait a minute, we watched 6 episodes.
So that's a cliffhanger.
And we didn't even get to, yeah, it's just a cliffhanger to the big battle that we wanted to see.
Okay, see, that's a spoiler that people need to know. If you're going in watching it and they're walking in, you put your hand on their chest, like just to slow them down. Hey, remember, the big thing is not going to happen until next season. And they're like, oh, okay.
And we haven't really talked about the show we both loved, but I think one of our podcast started on that. I think, dang, can you believe it's been on that long? Cobra Kai. And we haven't talked about that, man. And they just released another batch of episodes, but I refuse to watch it because they reached the first batch, the second batch, they got another batch they're gonna release. I'm like, why are we doing this? It's like this routine of just delaying the inevitable. They're just like releasing these things, and they want you to stay on the platform or come back to the movies.
Yes.
Just so that you can pay more for something they could have probably done in one movie or in 8 episodes. And that's the thing I don't like anymore that I'm seeing more and more with TV.
Where it feels like a play instead of
yeah.
No, that's the worst. And you get that in games where it's, okay, they're trying to extend the length of this level. So they're just making me run back and forth and around because some artist may have put like a lot of time into it or something.
Yeah, who cares, man? Just get to the story, man. Tell the story. And the whole Stranger Things, right? They finally released a trailer. These kids, they started at 11 and 10. They're like 28 years old now. Just, man, get this show over with, man. Come on. Netflix. Jeez, man. It's just, granted, they complain about lack of content and all that stuff because of the pandemic and the strikes and all that stuff. But come on, man. This is getting ridiculous. So, TV, man, it was mid this year, in my opinion. I'm scratching my head to find something that really enticed me. I can count on one hand. Now, if you didn't watch Agatha all along, but they had a good episode there. I think I hinted at it where they did something pretty interesting in the show. And that was something that I wasn't a super fan of the show, but I like what they did with it and it made sense.
Okay.
And so I definitely recommend people check that out. And of course, the Acolyte, man, poor Acolyte, man. On one hand, I don't think it got a chance, but the second hand, I don't think it deserved a chance because they didn't do it too well, man. It's just, you knew going in there was going to be this woke mob after you, man. And for you not, or anti-woke mob, and for you not to do a more coherent story was disappointing because it had a shot. I thought it had a shot. We talked about that, right?
Yeah. But as you said, and as we said somewhere else, Star Wars still sucks. Something happened, and I don't care what side you're arguing. It's just it went off the rails somewhere, and hasn't been able to pick itself back up. And even Andor, which we both loved, it's too much almost. I know that's an awesome show, but we don't need all Star Wars to be like Andor.
No, and we need and I get what's the other one? Did Ashoka come out this year too? I can't recall. Or was that last year?
Yeah, I thought it was this year.
Yeah, so Ashoka, I think that was getting along the lines, but it was still a little too much. It was still immersed in that, which you and Dr. Chris told me about Rebels, which is a great one. I never really liked Dave Filoni stuff. It's too much sometimes, but Rebels was really good. And so I'm glad they were trying to evolve it, but I still think they were missing a few pieces there. So yeah, Star Wars, man, I don't know, man. I don't know is Mandalorian Goku gonna the movie that's coming out next year, is that going to change our viewpoint of Star Wars? I don't know, Mr. Benja. I don't know.
Yeah. Then that's a lot to put on Grogu's little shoulders.
We didn't talk about DC TV shows or movies at all, but I can't recall any uh, DC TV show that I watched this year. I think I went back to watch Batwoman just to reminisce on Black Batman Week. That's what I always do. That's the holiday. It's a national holiday, guys.
Well, I know we're not at our predictions yet, but would you want more from the Bat Patterson universe? The Penguin, the Batman?
Actually, yeah, I would. When you see it, maybe we'll talk about it, but it left it open to some interesting points. And so I'll be curious to see what they do.
Yeah, as I said, man, I'm going back and watching all the episodes of the animated series and picking up some interesting stories. I didn't know how much of a deep dive the animated series was doing until I started going back and watching the animated series. Because they'll have a character. There was a quirky character in, I think his name was Radio or something like that, where he always had like this headset. He was just a goon, right? He was one of somebody's goons, and he had this radio headset where he was always picking up police radio and stuff. And I'm like, does this guy have a history? And yeah, he was in all these detective comics back in like the 60s and 70s.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like,
I love it.
There's plenty of stuff to draw from. I want to see more.
We saw Automatopoeia.
That's right. That's right.
Which was, yeah, we saw that. Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to think. Obviously, we got rumors of the new Superman coming out next year. We got images of Superman putting on his socks, which is fine. We got,
just like you, put my socks on one at a time.
Hey, that's something blowing up in the back, and I'm smiling like a rock. Was it Norman Rockwell? But from DC, we heard that there's what's it called? The Lantern. There's gonna be a Green Lantern, I think, TV show.
The Lanterns.
Right? Yeah, the Lanterns. Midly excited about that. So we'll see what they do with that. There's a lot of stuff they can mine there, which would be good. Yeah, man. But I'm just scratching my head, man. What have you watched? I think has that come out yet? The Creature Commandos. I don't know if that's been out yet, but I think that's coming out soon. That's the first James Gunn announcement. But yeah, man, the comic book scene has changed so drastically. I don't know. We'll see what James Gunn can do to keep our interest, man. When our MCU basically had to bring back Robert Downey Jr. back as a villain, Dr. Doom, to get our interest again. And that was a big announcement this year. But other than that, all the MCU properties are pretty much down. We're starting to see previews for the Thunderbolts, and we're seeing previews for Captain America.
Yeah.
Was it Black Captain America's Winter Soldiers, Falcon?
Yes.
Yeah. We see that come out, but I don't see the hypeness around it. Thunderbolts look actually pretty good, though. I might be down for Thunderbolts. But anyway, that's more prediction, guys. We're just trying to. The reason why we're talking about them now because that's the extent of what happened this year when it came to Marvel. I'm MCU. I'm trying to think. Yeah, they had Echo begin this year, which I didn't finish, but I wasn't too pleased with. So.
I actually liked it.
Okay.
I think I liked it because Wilson Fisk is one of my favorite characters, and he did not have the Hawaiian shirt action going on. I just thought that was a bit redeeming.
Yes. Kudos to him, man. Let me just round this out real quick. Sports, Olympics, we talk about them we talked about Olympics extensively. We just thought the marketing angle and what happened this year for 2024. Because I don't think they got a raw deal in 2021 during Tokyo. So I think this Olympics really pushed a lot of folks to the forefront and made it more interesting. Yeah, that's what I thought from Olympics. And then sports gambling is ascended. We're seeing DraftKings, we're seeing all this stuff. Parlays, my brother sending me like images of what he's betting. I made $10. Okay, because he betted that this quarterback would get 2 yards on the third down, right? It's parlays, we don't know. Basically, you can bet on anything. You can bet how long the national anthem is going to go for a song or for a TV show, for a game. And you can combine that with how many yards a running back could get. So you can make money. But is that going to keep the purity of sports? And we talked about that with the Tyson and Paul fight. Yeah. It's becoming.
And that's, you know what? We're not putting it here as a big topic, but the whole sports gambling media influencer, I'm a part of the product and the product is me conglomeration that we're seeing. That's in it too, man. A lot of these games now aren't so much games, but opportunities to stream their gambling platform. So the game doesn't have to be as fun. You're just trying to gamble to see if you can get to the top of some leaderboard. So you can show it off on Twitch. It's all very weird, man.
Yeah. Weird time for sports, man. So we'll see how this evolve, and we'll talk maybe in our future predictions of what some things. And we're talking about more sports because business aspect and entertainment is key. And then finally, when we talk about music, man, Kendrick versus Drake, big news, man. That pretty much kept rap relevant. I think, in my opinion,
Yeah.
when you had a year resurgence of country music and pop music, that was the only thing. Yes, you had some new artists come up and pop up, but that was a big thing for rap, for rap right now. But I don't think there was anything else that was even close. What are your thoughts?
No, Ice Cube showing up at the Dodgers game was fun for 2 minutes, but yeah, Kendrick. It was Kendrick's year, and he held it down for hip hop.
Yeah, got a new album out. Maybe we'll talk about it next time. But and he's gonna be at the Super Bowl, so that this really put him in the next echelon. And he's a true artist, right? People respect his artistry as well. Whereas Drake is descendant, right? He's been labeled as a 69 god, and it just is not seeing the same light anymore. So yeah, definitely. Yeah, 2024 did shift some things. And so
Real quick, you know what's interesting? Drake's album cover, the one with the pregnant ladies, was done with influence from Damian Hirst, who's basically been called a fake artist. He's a very rich artist, but he's a fake artist. So it's even on that level, they're both just, it's comedy.
Fakeness around. So 2024 year of fakeness is over, guys. Definitely see you in 2025. Anything else, Mr. Benja?
No, man, we're going into the holidays. Hope everybody had a good 2024. Relax, reflect, chill, get your chill vibes on, feel good about yourselves. And hey, man, I look forward to the next big thing. Be remarkable next year.
Be remarkable. I love it.
Yeah. We're not even done with the year, but be remarkable.
Yeah. Be kind to yourself, right? So give yourself some grace this year. We've all been through it. The year of anxiety is over. And so let's go into 2025, renewed and recharged. That's my charge for everyone and myself as well. Mr. Benja, always a great year with you, man. Can't say it wasn't. So thank you for another year in the pod as we hit the 200 mark. So thank you for what you do. Everyone, look, please like, subscribe, and comment at Show vs. Business on X/Twitter, Threads, YouTube, and Instagram. Listen to us at Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you like what we're talking about, want to see more, see some of the content we put out there, go visit us at our website, Show vs. Business. Mr. Benja, hope you had a good 2024, man.
Hey, man, you have a peaceful 2024 too.